numbers yet, but we have a group of college students who have agreed to meet with you guys one-on-one, like with your teams, to answer any questions, provide feedback on what you guys have so far. So that's going to be, we're going to hopefully be assigning you a mentor next week. So what that means is you guys need to make sure that you're kind of up to speed on your assignment so far, so business mission, values, financial statements. Make sure you at least have something so that your mentors have something to give you feedback on. And if you haven't yet, post it to the Google Doc, and I will probably share that with them so they can look at it ahead of time if they want to. So that's happening. Next, I want to announce the prizes finally. I know you guys know this is a competition, but I don't think we've actually told you what you can win. So we have finally set the prizes. So first place prize is a $1,000 scholarship per student on the team and a 2-in-1 Dell laptop. Second place prize, $500 scholarship and Dr. Dre headphones. I hear the roll. Third place is a $100 gift card and a 1-year Amazon Prime subscription, so you can order textbooks, movies, whatever you want. So that's for third place. And then today we're talking about business ethics. You guys are all going to have a part of your business plan where you talk about the ethics of, you're going to have an ethics code in your business. And during the competition, when you're actually presenting your business plan, the judges are going to be prepared to ask you probably one ethical question that you guys need to be ready to answer. The team that presents best and has the best established business ethics integration in their plan is also going to be eligible for a prize, and that's a 1-year Netflix subscription. So that's pretty cool. Netflix is pretty great. So those are the prizes that you guys can win: first, second, third place, and then best ethical integration. All of those can earn you a prize. And depending,
the Netflix will go to one team to each school at each school.
Oh,
we'll get that.
Netflix, yeah. So 2 teams will get the Netflix prize, and it doesn't have to be somebody who didn't win first. Like if you get first, second, or third place, you're still eligible to win the ethics prize as well. So it just depends on who presents best. Yeah. So those are your prizes. That's what you guys have to be working towards, looking forward to. Yeah. And I think that's all I have to say. So any further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Scott Murphy, who's going to be talking to you guys about business ethics. Kind of introduce yourself.
All right, good afternoon. I hope this is an interactive group. Do you all talk a lot? Outgoing. You're all kind of outgoing, I hope. As Danielle talked about, I will talk about business ethics. And you know, it was kind of interesting. As I drove into work this morning, I heard a news story, which I actually started hearing yesterday, about a company that is really got some pretty serious business ethics issues. Anybody know what that is? Be in the news the last day or two. Be a car maker. So there's a major car maker that has not done the right thing, to say the very least. I'm sorry? No, that's okay. Any other guesses? So Volkswagen. Anybody here drive a Volkswagen? Know of anybody who drives a Volkswagen? Okay. So they decided that they would create some software, and I may have a little bit of this wrong, so bear with me, but they decided they would create some software which allowed their vehicles to kind of defeat emission standards in the US, and particularly in California, and they got caught doing that. So they're going to have to recall millions of cars. And do you have any idea what the consequences of that will be for them? Any guess?
I mean, they probably have to pay the people that bought a car, since they're taking their car.
Yeah, they'll definitely have to pay for new parts, without question, and maybe some compensation for those folks that they really kind of defrauded or frauded. What else? What other consequences would there be for them, do you think? Yeah, there are a lot of people that are really mad, starting with a lot of U.S. and California regulators. And so they have taken, I think the number I heard was $7 billion and reserved that just to pay for fines and legal fees. So if you can imagine how much money $7 billion is. There are shareholders who have invested money in the company, thinking that they would make some money and get a return. Their share price is probably down, I think 35% right now. So it's impacted all the folks that, you know, invested in the company in good faith, that thought that, you know, here's part of my retirement, maybe I'll invest in this company, they make a pretty decent product, we think they're ethical, they do the right thing, they talk about their German engineering, they have great commercials, you know, they sell a bunch of cars, some other cars are kind of nice to drive, but, you know, their world has changed. The leader of their company has been fired. And I'm sure that, you know, that's only the beginning of folks that will be terminated from, you know, pretty good jobs. So there'll be a lot of people that lose their job as a result of that as well. And more than likely, a lot of people that'll face some criminal charges and could end up in prison as a result of that. So a lot of, and it'll be, you know, kind of an interesting story to hear about. I'm sure it'll be something that we'll hear about on and off for the next, I would guess, 3 to 5 years as it plays out in court. But if you listen to the news or pull up the news on the internet, it will be one of the lead stories, I'm sure, over the course of the next 2 or 3, 4 days as well. So kind of an interesting thing. You know, as it relates to business ethics, what do I need to do? Do I need to flip? Do I have a flipper? Down arrow? Oh, down arrow there. Okay, I could mess things up pretty easily here. So, really, you know, obviously the need to have business ethics. There are a whole lot of reasons. Every action has a reaction or a consequence. You really start looking at what the impact will be both legally and what it can be individually to folks as well. Shows personal values. Your business must follow state laws and country laws. And it was interesting that you talked about Bangladesh. You know, that outsourcing in, you know, in countries that are much less fortunate than the U.S. that is a really, really tough call for companies. I work for Walmart. I'm kind of on the food side in the logistics business, but we have teams that go around the world and they check standards, but we don't operate the factories overseas. We rely on other companies to do that, and in some cases we take folks, you know, at face value on what they tell us, which is kind of shame on us. We did have product made out of that factory that collapsed, as did Target and Kmart and, you know, a lot of other retailers. So it's one of those things that you really get into a pretty heavy ethical dilemma on, you know, the number of checks and balances that you need to have, what you need to look for, how aggressive or assertive are you with the contractor that you make arrangements to buy product with. So, you know, and that is, you know, somebody touched on the trust issue. You know, it becomes a major trust issue both in this country and overseas as well. So a lot of reasons why you really do need to have ethics in your business plan, and certainly if you run a company or start a company, why you need to be ethical as well. So you've got some, you know, historical schools of ethics, Aristotle's virtue of ethics, practice virtues to perfect them. So you got honesty, integrity, friendship, justice, The Kantian ethics, do what you think anyone else should do in the same situation. The utilitarian ethics make decisions based on the good of the majority, and pragmatic ethics do whatever it takes to accomplish the task. Kind of a little history in the early formation of the world from an ethics standpoint. So what would you do? You are an executive for a manufacturing company that produces large amounts of waste each day. Disposing of the waste properly is very expensive, which makes it harder for your company to earn a profit. One of your coworkers suggests dumping the waste in a nearby lake to save time and money, but the decision is up to you. Should you authorize the use of the lake as a dumping site? No, absolutely not. Why not? Yeah. No, absolutely not legal. Yeah. I'm sorry?
You just said that the last business, they did what they felt like would profit them, and they lost billions of money for it.
Absolutely.
So why would you do something that risks your own company or potential debt?
Yeah, you absolutely should not. You're right. But people do that. Folks take that risk and take that chance. But you absolutely do not want to do that. So another example, another way to look at ethics, when employees are, when employees are faced with ethical dilemmas, they should ask themselves the following questions. Is it legal? Are you being fair and honest? Would you be embarrassed or unwilling to tell your family, friends, or coworkers? Will you sleep soundly after you've done something that you know you shouldn't have done? Would you want to see it reported on the front page of the newspaper or all over the internet? Could someone's life, health, or safety be endangered by your actions? You know, you go dumping stuff into a pond, and that eventually could leach down into well water, which could contaminate drinking water, which could kill folks. So, you know, certainly another, you know, does your intended action appear inappropriate? So all things that you need to kind of take into consideration as you're thinking about, you know, building your ethics statement for your business plan, and certainly for a business if you go the business route in the future. So here's another example. There have been some accidents in the last couple of years with several of your coworkers, but your company has met all the minimum safety requirements. Should you spend more of your profits on safety regulations than legally required? Okay, how come?
Further down, like something big or something, and you have to pay
Mm-hmm.
and you're paying taxes, which go into like funding a business, which when people get on like
Social Security.
Like you're paying for that anyway, so.
Yes?
What you said, doesn't a business if you get hurt on the job, the business is required to help supply payment for that?
Yeah, absolutely, you are.
So would it cost less to just fix the problem than to pay for multiple people's insurance problem?
Yeah, it absolutely would. So you have responsibility as a business. You have worker compensation laws, and part of that law is to make sure that folks are taken care of, both medically and are compensated for lost time if they happen to lose time from work. So that becomes can be a major business expense. What else from an ethical standpoint though? Why would you want to go beyond just the basics?
If you show that you care about your employees, then wouldn't that make more people want to come to you?
Absolutely.
Because I heard one time that you should judge
person, like if you want to be around someone that cares about people like genuinely. So if I had the choice between going between two people, like one business that doesn't show very much respect to other people, or going somewhere that does show respect, I'd pick the one that does show respect, that cares.
Yeah, that's a perfect point. Absolutely, very good. You know, when you think about what should be in your ethics, and you think about how you should treat people, should you not do everything you can possibly do to make sure that your employees walk out of your building the same way they walked in? I think you owe it to your employees to do that. You owe it to their families to do that. There is certainly you will gain loyalty if you don't gain anything else, but more than likely you'll gain higher productivity. You'll gain better attendance. You'll gain folks that are more committed to their job and to their company and doing a good job. So a whole lot of things I think that are real positives. Yes, ma'am.
My mom, she works at Packaging Corp here in Gas City, and I mean, they offer all kinds of incentives. Like, I mean, if you're not getting hurt and you go so many days, months without accidents, they give them like a party for Christmas, and they also hand out like Walmart gift cards for like $25, $50, like depending on how long they went without an accident.
Good.
So like incentives like help raise the safety standards, I guess, because like a lot of people, they don't want to do anything, like there's not an incentive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, that's kind of an interesting point. I won't go into a ton of detail, but the Occupational Safety and Health law and group, what we call OSHA, they take a little different version on what safety incentives do. I do think they help create awareness, and I do think they help keep folks focused on safety performance. OSHA's stand, however, is that incentives sometimes will cause peer pressure that will force folks to not report injuries that they have. So you're in kind of a dual-edged sword. You've got, both sides of the sword that will kind of cut both ways.
They had a guy that stuck his hand into a fan last year that was on like a corrugator belt, and he was bleeding very badly and almost lost one of his fingers due to not wanting to report it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So it does create potential issues, but that is a great point. And we do try to do different things, from safety quizzes and different things to reward folks as well. And I do think those are helpful when you're going about the day-to-day piece of the business as well. So great point though, and very good comment. I appreciate that. Moving on, every business should develop a code of ethics. Most code of ethics will have two parts. So as you think about writing your code of ethics for your business plan, the aspiration, which is outlining what the company aspires to be like, and then the rules and principles, which are outlining good conduct expected by all employees. So when you really kind of think about that, and I'll just use the Walmart Code of Ethics. Maybe I'm behind here. Okay, we basically have 4 points in what I would call our guiding principles or our basic beliefs. The first is respect for the individual. We try to have a workplace where we respect differences, where we are polite to each other, where we recognize that not everybody's going to agree, but we do it in a respectful manner, that we listen to our associates and vice versa. So that piece is a critical piece for us. The next is service to our customer, and for a manager in the distribution center, their customer is their associates, the folks that work for them. So very important to make sure that they are doing what they can do to help everybody do their job better and succeed. When we think about who our customer is, as a whole team in the distribution center. We talk about obviously our stores, because you know, if we don't have stores, then we don't have a need to have distribution centers, and we don't partner with vendors or any of the other things that make, you know, the product get to the shelf at the store. So, you know, it's kind of, in my job, it's really, I kind of break it down, try to break it down very simply into two parts. One is to get groceries in and out, and that's the easy part, because we have 750 associates that do that, and they do it very well. The other piece is making sure everybody gets fair and equitable treatment, and that we are developing folks. And to me, that's the most important part of my job in the building. When we go to the third basic belief, it is striving for excellence. And you know, we simply ask folks to do their best every day. But more than that, we ask folks to think about how can we do it better? How can we change the process? How can we improve the operation? What can we do? You know, and there have been a lot of things just in the 8 years that the Gas City Distribution Center has been open, a lot of things that we've changed over the course of time. And I'm sure that when we look 8 years in the future, there'll be more and more things that we change as well. And really the last one is acting with integrity, and that's at the highest levels. It starts with the chairman of our board, with our CEO, certainly with our divisional vice presidents. It's how we treat our vendors. It's how we treat our customers. It's certainly how we treat our associates, but always being honest, doing the right thing by everybody. You know, taking somebody's word. If they, you know, bring product back and need to return it, we will always take their word that they bought it from us, even if they don't have a receipt, because it's the right thing to do, and folks do lose receipts. So there are a lot of those things that we certainly strive as a company to do. You look at the history of our company, and generally we've done a pretty good job, but we've had a couple of things from an ethical standpoint that have been, you know, problematic for us. We had a very, very high-level manager that was bribing folks with gift cards. It cost him his job, and it cost the company quite a bit of money. And then we've also had some bribery issues in a foreign country where we wanted to build stores, and it had to involve real estate and other governmental functions that, again, you know, was a real flaw and cost a bunch of people their jobs, and obviously cost us a lot of money as a company. But in both those cases, probably worse than the money piece is the impact to our reputation as an organization, and the loss of faith that shareholders had in us, that customers had in us. So, you know, those are the things that when you think about the ethical piece, first and foremost, you should think about what's the right thing to do. What's the right thing to do to the human being next to you or that's near you. But certainly then, you know, there are a lot of other considerations as well. Legal responsibilities, that comes into play and is very important. Internal responsibilities, again, you know, following procedures and policies just within the company and what the right thing to do within what our guidelines are. And then obviously community responsibilities too. You know, when you run any business, you have some obligation to your community to be doing the right thing, to be honest, to follow laws, to make sure that you know, you're truly doing all of the things that you should be doing from an equal employment standpoint to quality control of products, safety regulations for workers, environmental regulations, and intellectual property rights. You know, making sure that you're not out there infringing on a copyright or stealing an idea that's out there or doing something unethical in those areas as well. So a lot of things to think about externally. Also internally, certainly customer service standards. Your customers you know, your customers really will decide whether or not you stay in business to a very large degree. So they'll vote you into business or out of business with how they spend their money. And so, you know, how they feel about you as a business becomes very important. Safety procedures, obviously, again, very important for the reasons we talked about in the area of safety. You build, you know, I think you build company loyalty or business loyalty when you know, watch how somebody's treated within a business. You know, there is a business where I know that folks don't get treated particularly well, and you know, it's pretty rare that I'll go in there, in large part because of that. And so again, it, you know, it really does have that impact, and you know, it's so easy to really treat folks right. I mean, it really is. It's a pretty easy thing to really do. You know, it doesn't take that much effort, but it certainly makes life miserable when you work someplace and you're not treated well. So, employee conduct, again, real important piece. You know, how do the folks in your business work and act? And then obviously product quality becomes important as well. So, you know, a number of things to take a look at. I think when you think about community responsibility, you kind of think about, you know, how you want to live it out. Is your company one that invests in the community? Do you care about where your inputs are coming from? You know, you talk about dumping waste in a pond. Or, you know, if you owned a service station, you know, would you go out back and get rid of some stuff? If you had a manufacturing plant and, you know, you had an acid operation, you know, would it be easy to just have somebody walk out and dump something in the, you know, kind of out in the back lot when you're not around? So some of that really becomes how you train your employees as well. But certainly some of the things to think about: social responsibility, sustainability, and environmental policies. You know, and those continue to get tighter, as they should. Stakeholder well-being, you know, in the Volkswagen example, you've got a lot of folks that, you know, are going to lose a lot of money potentially, and that may or may not come back to them over the course of time. But certainly short term, it'll be a pretty significant loss to a whole lot of individuals that didn't have anything to do with that decision. And then partnership policies as well. So, you know, a lot to think about within the community piece as well. And, you know, really some things to make sure you kind of build into your plan. So, you know, really making the code, making your own individual code of ethics. You know, you don't have to cover everything, but it is really good to have a written policy that can help you make difficult situations a little bit easier to handle. So I would encourage you to think about those. Think about what, you know, what's the goal of your business? You know, who are the most important to achieve that goal? What do you want your business to look like 30 years down the road? So all good things to think about. I ran across an article the other day, and it's kind of the 12 principles of basic business ethics. So there are 12 items here, and I'll kind of run through them quick because I was told I was on a time frame, and you all don't like long speakers that just go on and on and on, so I'll be kind of quick. Honesty be the first one. Honesty in your communications, and certainly honesty in your action. Integrity. You know, when you think about integrity, and especially if you're in a leadership position, you think about that integrity piece. You know, a large part of that is admitting when you make a mistake as a leader, admitting when you're wrong, when you have to change direction, maybe when the organization has made a mistake. So, you know, making, you know, certainly the correct choices are critical. The third one, keeping your promise. You know, if you go out and make promises to folks, the expectation is going to be that you're going to keep them. You know, the one thing that you want to make sure that you're doing is not making promises that you can't keep, because your credibility will be shot as a leader. Loyalty, making sure that you avoid conflicts of interest. Certainly making sure that you don't take advantage of the position that you're in. Again, really important to make sure that you're not doing that. Fair. You know, this goes back to some of our earlier comments, how you treat others. You know, are you fair with your customer? Are you fair with folks that work for you? Caring. You show that genuine concern. If somebody comes in with a problem at the end of the day and you want to get out of there, you just kind of, you know, listen with, you know, half an ear open and tell them, gee, I'll get to it tomorrow, and then tomorrow never comes, and so you leave them hanging? Or do you truly get involved and take the time to listen? And sometimes, you know, sometimes taking that time to listen can be hard because there may be some things you hear that you don't like to hear. But you really show that caring, genuine concern. You know, the 7th item is respect. And you know, I think respect comes in a lot of ways. Some of that is listening. But stuff as simple as please, thank you. You know, being able to ask somebody to do something rather than telling somebody to do something. So if you have folks in your business that are going to work for you, do you tell them to do stuff or do you ask them to do stuff? And you'll gain a lot more respect, I believe, by asking rather than telling. Obeying the law. You know, pretty simple and straightforward, but obviously you need to know what the laws are. How good do you want to be? Are you willing to pursue excellence? You know, do you want to run a printing company that, you know, does okay, and you know, maybe 1 out of 10 customers returns work because there are typo errors in it, or there are, you know, the print isn't clear? Or do you really want to strive to be the best you can be and build a reputation that you're the best printer in the county? Being a leader, you know, and really that is a 7-day-a-week, 24-hour-a-day job, because folks will see you out in the community and they'll make judgments on you out in the community that go beyond what happens at work. And you need to recognize that when you take a leadership position that's owning a company or, you know, working for somebody else in a leadership position. You will always be under a microscope. Morale. You know, making sure that, you know, you make work as fun as it can be, that you're able to relate to folks. And last, but certainly not least, being accountable for performance. And that can be, you know, the performance of your organization, setting goals and working toward those goals. And you may not hit every single goal, but being accountable for mistakes and certainly recognizing how to correct things when they go wrong. And everybody will have stuff that'll go wrong. You know, the one that wasn't on there that I would say make sure you put it in a business plan. It's a little bit outside the area of ethics, but don't be afraid to fail. You know, take some risk. You'll learn more from your mistakes than you will from your successes. So any questions? All right, well, I appreciate you being part of the course.
At least one.
You have a question?
Well, I was just struck, Mr. Murphy, about when you were doing your 12, but even before you got to your 12, you basically were not talking about ethics. You're basically talking about the proper way to run a business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You're talking about, you know, now you've obviously not been as seasoned of a veteran as I am, but have you noticed that companies, environments where there are more ethical behavior, the performance is better among the employees and the company performance is better?
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that absolutely is true. If you have high standards and you have high ethics and you clearly communicate those, then most of your associates, most of the people in your business will do what you ask. And if you maintain that same level across the board for everyone, And sometimes that's hard to get everybody on that page, but it's well worth the time and effort to do that. Most of the time that comes with a lot of communication and a lot of follow-up and very clear communication that also includes consequences. But again, really important to make sure that that happens so everybody has a defined role. They know what their role and their part is. And that you also are able to paint a vision for what that future can be. Because folks will, a lot of folks, not everybody, but a lot of folks will want to be able to go out and do more. Answer your question? All right. Well, again, thank you very much for taking the course. Hopefully it is a, it'll be profitable at least for several teams. But hopefully you learn a lot about it. And when you really kind of think about, what the next 20, 30 years looks like in the United States and I think around the world, there will be fewer and fewer large companies that move into an area and provide everybody with jobs, and there'll be more and more unique individuals that come up with different ideas to figure out how they want to have fun making a living, and are able to employ 10, 15, 20, 50, 100 people and do it very successfully. So I think this is a great foundation to kind of learn that and think about that and expand your horizons on that as well. So appreciate it. Thank you. All righty, thanks.
All right, so that's all we really have for today, you guys. Done 15 minutes early, so hopefully that makes up for some time we'll be a little bit late. Just remember to keep working on getting together your business mission, values, financial plans, all those things. Make sure you kind of got that in order. You guys know where you are. Posting that stuff. We're going to be placing t-shirt orders this week, I think. So we'll be getting those to you guys. We'll let you know about your mentors. Yeah, and then feel free if you guys have any follow-up questions or as you're drafting your code of ethics, feel free to shoot an email to Scott Murphy. His email is in the binders, and I'm sure he's willing to take questions.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, definitely feel free to reach out to him. And as always, you guys can ask us questions throughout the process if you run into any troubles. That
Or
covers
you
it.
want to bounce off ideas, not just troubles, you want to bounce ideas of where you're going.
Yeah.
All the speakers are, again, they were taking their time. And I can't believe all the times I run into them. This is still some of their favorite moments. There's a gentleman who is now running home with a large GM assemblies plant, moving change GM. He still considers this one of his best professional moments.